What? Ah! Oh, that was weird. Oh, motherfucker. Final Fight the Applicators. I'm holding such a game in my hands right now. This is Final Fight 4, or in a more cool sense, Final Fight Streetwise, because Capcom really wanted to appeal to the cool kids, with all the underwear showing, long jeans leaning, crap-talking hooligans as Capcom's targeted audience. Now before I go further with this, let's talk more about Final Fight as a whole.
There was a time when beat-em-ups were taking baby steps as they were starting to gain attention with the help of Renegade and the Double Dragon games by Technos Japan. With the introduction of the new arcade hardware Capcom developed, known as the CPS-1, along with inspiration from Double Dragon 2 The Revenge, paved the way for the development of Final Fight for the arcades, released in 1989, originally called Street Fighter 89. Final Fight focused on Mike Hager, an ex-pro wrestling, ex-street fighting champion turned mayor of the fictional Metro City, going to rescue his daughter Jessica from the Mad Gear gang who practically controlled the city before he took his position in office. Accompanied by ex-thug Cody and martial artist Guy, they eventually rescued her and defeated the Mad Gear gang leader Belger. The game was so awesome that it was ported to several systems, most infamous being the Super Nintendo and the PS2 as part of the Capcom Collections game, along with the remake for the Game Boy Advance, and finally packaged with Magic Sword in the form of Final Fight Double Impact on PSN and Xbox Live Arcade. There were also a couple of sequels made, two for the Super Nintendo, with the second being the faithful successor of the first game from the arcades, and the third with the speed and features that rivals the Streets of Rage series, all of which can be downloaded on the Wii Virtual Console. There was also a sequel being made by Capcom Studio 8 in 2005 for the PlayStation 2 called Final Fight 7 Sons, or 7 Sons Final Fight as the title likes to put it. The game was to star Dean, one of the protagonists from Final Fight 3, with gameplay that appears to be much similar to the original with an added feature in an attempt at recreating the original arcade experience while making the concept seem rather ridiculous, as if having a pro wrestler as a mayor who, along with two other people, took down a crime lord with their fists wasn't ridiculous enough. Unfortunately, the game did not sell very well to Capcom and was canned shortly after. In its place, we got Final Fight Streetwise as Capcom attempts to appeal to the American audiences, so much so that the game never made a Japanese release. To get to know Capcom Studio 8 a little better, it was a subsidiary of Capcom USA that developed a couple of games, being the short-lived Maximo series for the PlayStation 2 and Final Fight The Revenge for the Sega Saturn. Yeah. Streetwise was released in 2006, about a year after the release of two Capcom's biggest hits, being Killer 7 and Resident Evil 4. Now, when I first heard of Final Fight Streetwise,
I didn't care. Really, despite being a fan myself, I didn't really care much about its transition through 3D, though ironically, here it is. Let's get to the game already.
Now this game is supposedly a lot more grittier and mature than the other Final Fights, as you may notice from the graphic content warning as seen in other games like Resident Evil and Dino Crisis. Now, one thing you'll notice immediately is how the music plays out. I'm not exactly sure what they're going with here. I want to balance between annoying car speakers and a nail scraping the chalkboard. One thing I like about the game right off the bat is how it introduces you into its atmosphere. This is as good as it's gonna get.
Damn it! it, Kyle! What the hell happened to your focus? Quit toying with this guy!
This is my bro, Cody. A local hero. We don't fight anymore. Back in the day, he was the man. He's kind of a hard ass, but he's always been there for me.
He's also known for the infamous catchphrase,
"Where's my Jessica? Where have they taken her?"
And in case you're wondering, Jessica is nowhere to be found, nor is she heard at any point of this game.
The way the game introduces the characters are not bad, but they can be annoying, as the game finds it necessary to do this for every single character they present.
Handsome my ass.
So the game begins at a fight part of Metro City, where we are introduced to the fighting mechanics. The battle system is... how do you put it? There's some action going on and all in it, but it all works well, as Kyle can hold off against enemies fairly well. The combat system has a lock-on mode, which is very helpful when you want to attack one at a time. The blocking also works well, as Kyle can block any attacks thrown at him, even from behind. There are several different combos Kyle can learn from the gym, which helps change the game up a bit, as well as make attacks more accessible and easier to use. Oh look, a plot!
Brings you.
Haven't you heard? Good girls like me enjoy a little trouble now and then.
Vanessa Sims. What more can I
In
tell
case you are
about her?
wondering,
Can't see
he's
for
going to
yourself.
do that for every
She's
character in the
sexy
game,
and
including the
tough.
people he
Not a bad
just
combination.
met in the cutscenes. Keeping in mind that the story is told in a present sense.
You said 30 minutes, man. It's been an hour.
Yeah, whatever. Listen, I'm thinking about fighting again.
Ah, come on, Cody. Not again.
I said, listen, Kyle. I'm onto something here. Something that can help.
Help stick you in a wheelchair? Come on, man. You know your knees can't handle it.
You think I like sitting on the sidelines like a bitch? I want to be back in the shit again.
And they're gonna
the
drop
fuck?
that side
Don't
plot
worry
for
about it.
one moment in 3, 2, 1.
The stiff. Who the hell is this?
Oh,
Better yet, what kind of
sorry,
shit has
give me
Cody
one
stepped
moment.
into? One thing's for sure. This guy means business. And something stinks.
And then a fight breaks out. You know, for a guy with a knee injury, he sure can fight really well, even using his said injured knee to attack thugs. Then the fighting ability fades when a gun is drawn. They could have snatched the gun from his hand or even punch him in the throat, and they do neither.
Good help these days.
Kyle, take it easy.
Matches? Metro Diner. Thanks, baby.
From here, you may notice the graphics of this game are not very appealing by PS2 standards, or in comparison to Resident Evil 4. The models of the main characters are not exactly horrible to look at, but they could have been done a lot better. One could argue that Capcom is going for a more cartoonish look, but in the last minute they went for a more realistic look. Blending these two didn't work so well, as you can see. A better way to explain this is imagine a guitarist in Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock, with lower resolution and fewer textures, and you got the character models of Final Fight Streetwise in a nutshell. Although the character models can make out different facial expressions pretty well. On the other hand, a lot of times it just ends up looking plain silly, especially at one moment where Cody reminds me of the guy from the Street Fighter cartoon. What caught my eyes was the repetitive character models that you see throughout the game. Enemies, sure, you gotta give the lesser guys a chance to fight despite their previously failed attempts. I mean, beat-em-ups are typically guilty of this, but the civilians are the most guilty of all. There's roughly a dozen character models that are constantly being repeated over and over and over and over again, all over Metro City, only with different personalities each time. That doesn't convince me that they are different people, because there is literally no distinction between other models. Sometimes I think they're just stalking Kyle and all have multiple personality disorder. The light in this game doesn't seem to work very well, and the textures in the overall environment seems rather bland, to where the graphics in Sonic Adventure on the Dreamcast outclasses this game. In fact, it looks like the game was meant for the Sega Dreamcast. What is just dreadful about the graphics is the motion blur. It's especially noticeable when you rotate the camera. The motion blur can disorient your eyes, giving you a bit of motion sickness.
Yes, this game literally makes you sick when you look at it. So what I'm getting at is that the graphics in this game stink.
The voice acting, on the other hand, is something else. Not that it's outright terrible, but it's not exactly what you would call good. Some of the voice actors seem to have fun with their roles, while others are just like this.
I help you beat down the...
Help me!
use this. Money.
Hey, let me go! Hey! Fucking, you don't understand! If I die, I'm a dead man!
Come on! I don't want to have to keep this up all day.
What the?
You gonna let this no-good piece of trash play you like that?
Damn, that looked good.
This looks like some serious shit. That guy could have killed you. I'm thinking.
Listen to me. I gotta do this.
Listen, I gotta do this. Listen, can we reschedule this some other time? I have a sore throat.
No, absolutely not. Now keep going.
You seriously want me to go through this script in a whole single day?
Just say your lines, man, puppet. Gone.
You really want me to roll with this?
Yes, we're a month behind and I blew all the studio money on bitches and whores. Now talk!
Whatever, more money for me.
Now onto the gameplay elements. You may have taken notice about the respect up icon earlier. That's because there is a respect system. Capcom tried to play off Streetwise as if it's some kind of an open world game, much like Grand Theft Auto or Fable, by making it to where your actions affect how your character is, if he was good or evil. However, they don't have a lasting impact throughout the game, other than minor tweaks over the core gameplay. Your respect differs in 4 different areas of Metro City. You gain respect by beating up bad guys and completing side quests, and you can lose respect by attacking people who aren't thugs. Having high respect grants you a little bit less encounters with thugs, along with the occasional random groupie cheering you on.
So, what happens when you're evil, you may think? Well...
More thugs show up, and all the civilians become disgusted with you, some even willing to fight you, which they go down like a pot of water when tipped over, meaning they don't put up a fight. What this boils down to is the feature simply being there to make the game something it is not. Moreover, there is a gym in this game where you can learn new combo moves as well as upgrade Kyle's health, strength, and instinct meter. What does instinct do? Think of it as the super meter from various of Capcom fighting games. When you perform certain unblockable combo moves like the drop kick, it drains the meter. Other than that, it makes your attacks a little stronger and faster and can be activated at any time by holding L2. It also makes finishing moves sound more satisfying.
How you doing, man?
There is a music store which lets you buy licensed music tracks to listen to in the game. Outside of this, the game does have an original soundtrack which, a few of its tracks sound pretty good.
Don't mind if I do.
While others are not. As for the licensed music, they come in 2 genres, hip-hop and alternate metal.
Now, I'm no expert in music, which is why I'm going to leave the music work to a good friend of mine, SEXCR.
What, me? Dude, I haven't played the game and I'm whiter than a farmer's tan. Why should I do it?
Well, you're still blacker than I am.
Point taken. Well, the music in Streetwise is really a mixed bag. And by mixed bag, I mean it consists of basically 2 genres of music, rap and metal, ranging from annoyingly bad to surprisingly good. But since good music is harder to make fun of, here's They Fight by 334 Mob featuring T-Rock.
They fight, they fight, they fight, they fight, they fight, get their ass out the club. They fight, they fight, they fight, they fight, they fight.
Wow. You know your song's in trouble when you take the repetitive chorus style of AC/DC and you make it even more repetitive. The beat itself isn't that bad, as is the case for most of the rap in the game, but this song in particular is like I whip my hair back and forth, in that once you hear it the first time, the only lyrics you're going to remember from it are, they fight, they fight, they fight, uh-oh. And by the way, guys, stop trying to make uh-oh sound tough. It's a lost cause. Just give it up. But then you've got songs like Get Your Head Bust Open by A-Mafia, which has a decent beat to it, but it talks about things that don't fit Final Fight Streetwise at all. Now, Southern Boys by Alpha Omega featuring Lil Flip, T.I. and Trina is even worse, and it doesn't have the decent beat to back it up.
coming through in them candy toes. She, fuck them tweakers, they on 24. She, got niggas running, try to hide they hoes.
Yeah, remember when Kyle was a pimp? And black? Well, I shouldn't be complaining too much. I mean, at least this is better than Hip Hop by Nappy Roots.
Everybody in the club, let me see you jump. How sexy with so badass, she says she represents herself. Everybody in the club, let me see you jump. All the players in the club.
And at least they could stay on topic, unlike Deviants of Reality and the Power of Words. A song that starts off talking about street life, and then goes on about a girl he had sex with. The song puts the ADD in RAP. But whatever, as long as they're down with OPP. Yeah, you know me. But just when you start to think the generic gangsta rap is becoming a little overdone, all of a sudden On Fire by Asterix starts playing. Yes, we went from gangsta rap to trance. A bit jarring, but the song's not that bad, so I'm not complaining. I mean, at least this is better than Explosive by Diverse Lyrics Born in RJD2, which sounds like they had Microsoft Sam lead off the song.
First of my constituents and all of my compatriots, I thank you for your patronage. I know for y'all to make the trip ain't easy, and the sacrifice you're making is appreciated. Please accept it once again as I extend my gratefulness. I say for some.
This song is so badass, I only need to use one tone of voice for it. Now, Blind Man by Diverse is actually a good song, but the mixing on it has the vocals consistently being drowned out by the rest of the music.
You owe me more than city boy, just searching for that countryside serenity. No peace for my people's lord bracket. They ratchet twisted our galaxy like Andromeda. Acknowledge the wrong. Notice the aftershock.
What? What? Oh hey, speaking of people who need to shout to be heard. I pray in spite my soul, my life. That's right. Fear Factory makes a couple appearances on the soundtrack, along with Shadows Fall and Opeth, all of whom make solid contributions. Unlike Slipknot and Drop Test. Let me backtrack for a moment to say that not all of the rap is bad. Contributors to the soundtrack also include the Dub Pistols, who some of you might remember for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 with their song Cyclone, as well as a track from Preview 73, Diverse, and Most Def called Wildin' Out.
My compliance like a science, analyze my data, not a fader on the face of the earth. The blend rhythms like my will surreal, spinning ever moving like evolution. It's retribution for separate roots and lesser futures. I'm stepping the future.
Whereas the songs I mentioned first might bring down the game's experience or make it worse than it already is, songs like these are a nice little consolation if nothing else. As if to say, hey, our game might suck, but at least you're listening to some decent music. And on the same note, Angel Halo, this cameo might suck, my lighting might suck, the game might suck, but hey, at least I still got chicken. Where's my watermelon Kool-Aid?
Thank you, SCXCR. That added a lot to my review.
The music store is simply there to snatch some money off of you.
Much like Capcom has to me when selling the game with Final Fight in the title. Ooh! I'm awful.
Just like the pawn shops in this game. The pawn shops sell you a handful of weapons, commonly a baseball bat, a knife, and a brass knuckle, which is the only thing worth buying here. The brass knuckle does more damage when you attack and it never breaks. But even with that, I rarely go to the shop because I end up spending most of my money upgrading Kyle, including being able to do extra damage. And besides, you can find a bunch of weapons like those, including guns, all over the streets.
Hey, you gotta be wise to know those could be found on the streets. I'm sorry.